So, you've read the title? Putain de merde! Apparently there is a debate about this, when there really shouldn't be one. But here we are! Whee! Are singers considered musicians? No! By definition, a musician is somebody who plays an instrument. The term is abused these days, though, to include anybody who makes music in some capacity. DJs, record producers, and vocal groups like boys bands are not musicians. Wow, Andy! Funny that you mentioned that the term is abused these days. Should we look at one of the official definitions of what a musician is for you? Or would you look at that? A composer, conductor, or performer of music? Another one, perhaps. A musician is a person who plays a musical instrument as their job or hobby. And it seems that Andy here doesn't believe that the human voice is an instrument. But that's okay. That's because you don't know what you're talking about. Why isn't the human voice considered a musical instrument?
Hello there.
Who says it's not considered a musical instrument? Well, Andy, for starters. And he's not the only one. Oh, don't look at me like that, Kevin. I'm trying over here. Andy just doesn't want to listen. On peut peut-être le laisser essayer, non? On sait jamais, ça pourrait peut-être fonctionner. Well, that's actually not a bad idea. That could work. Okay, Kevin, take it away. Classic opera composers consider the human voice part of the overall orchestra, writing pieces for the human voice as they would with any other orchestral instrument. The idea of voice types, bass, baritone, tenor, alto, soprano, was to separate voices like instruments based on their given range and tonality. A human voice can reproduce melodic and rhythmic instruments. It is the most versatile natural instrument capable of sound in existence.
Oh, should singers be classed as musicians?
What the fuck are you doing exactly? Je me protège de toute cette connerie en fait. Well, that was a terrible idea.
I've always had a mixed opinion on this topic.
You shouldn't, Gary. There's like no debate.
I can understand why instrumentalists get rubbed up the wrong way when singers call themselves musicians, why they don't actually play an instrument, like guitar or piano. But do you have to play an instrument to be classed as a musician? My answer to this has always been no.
Oh, what a surprise! Here it is again! Gary is insinuating, just like Andy before, that the human voice isn't an instrument.
C'est à moi là.
Yup.
Ça va sans doute te faire un choc, Gary, mais l'ensemble du mécanisme qui nous permet de produire du son avec notre organe vocal fonctionne comme n'importe quel autre instrument.
Wow! What a plot twist!
Je sais. Tiens, attends, laisse-moi t'expliquer. Le mécanisme vocal humain fonctionne tout d'abord comme un instrument avant, tel la trompette, puisque c'est grâce à l'air inspiré et expiré via le système respiratoire que les cordes vocales peuvent vibrer et produire le son. Mais la voix humaine fonctionne également comme un instrument à cordes, tel la guitare acoustique. Parce qu'il y a des cordes vocales, je viens de le dire, tu sais quoi? Par la suite, le son ou les notes produites par la vibration des cordes vocales va passer par différents résonateurs qui vont amplifier ce son, tel la caisse de résonance d'une guitare acoustique par exemple.
Thank you, French scientist.
Alors, j'ai absolument aucune idée de ce que je suis censé être.
Why did your voice change?
Alors, ça, c'est la colère. Ou l'excès de cuisse de grenouille.
Wait, what?
I feel that unless you are able to talk comfortably on the same level as your pianist or guitarist about the theoretical side and be able to explain exactly what you want them to do in a musically articulate way, you cannot class yourself as a musician because you don't know enough to talk like one.
Oh, yes. The theoretical side. Thank you, Gary. Don't get me wrong, there's like nothing wrong with learning music theory and knowing how music works at its core. On the contrary, it can be really useful. Having knowledge about music theory can absolutely help musicians in general. When they want to create music, they will be more effective, they will have more freedom because they will have more knowledge about how music works, they will know their instrument better, and for example, when they need to communicate with other instrumentalists or musicians or whatever, in the band, for example, they will be able to communicate more easily because they will all speak the same language, the language of music. That's what music theory is supposed to help with. But I like how Gary here says it like only singers can be clueless about music theory. Well, he did mention that some singers are better than him at it. Yay for that. He also did mention that he isn't great himself at music theory. So, Gary, you're not a musician? Since playing an instrument isn't actually a factor in your own theory, even if you're wrong about singers not being instrumentalists, they might not play a man-made musical instrument, but they're playing a biological musical instrument. The fact that you admit that you're not great at music theory yourself, according to you, that makes you not really a musician.
Stings, doesn't it?
Also, at what point of musical theory knowledge or lack of knowledge do we draw the line between non-musicians and musicians? Is there a spectrum?
I need answers, Gary!
What about all those drummers or guitarists or any instrumentalists really that learn their instrument as autodidacts, Gary? What about all those musicians that are not singers but never learn to write music, to read music, and just never gave a fuck about the theoretical side of music? Are you also going to write an article about
Should guitarists be classed as musicians? When they don't have a damn clue about musical theory and they should be ashamed of themselves because they worthless piece of shit!
Eric Clapton himself said about a guest session with no other than Aretha Franklin, "I was so nervous because I couldn't read music and they were all playing from music sheets on stands." In a 1980 interview with Playboy magazine,
Ooh, Playboy. Nice.
John Lennon said about the Beatles, "None of us could read music. None of us can write it. But as pure musicians, as inspired humans to make the noise, they are as good as anybody." No, I don't know, John. Have you heard about the great Gary's theory? Because according to Gary here, the Beatles were not musicians? What the fuck? What the Sorry guys, I don't make the rules. Apparently Gary does. Also, at the end of the day, it's just not mandatory to know music theory to be able to play music or to write songs or to be creative. It's better if you have knowledge about music theory, as I said before, but it's not mandatory. Like, Gary, I'm sorry, Gary, I'm sorry, but that sounded like a big lot of bullshit. Elitist bullshit.
To wrap it up, singers that have enough knowledge or can play instruments to a reasonable standard should definitely be classed as musicians. Singers that think to back in tracks and pretend they know it all when they can't even write out the basic major scales should definitely not.
Well, that sounded very specific at the end, Gary. You okay there, buddy? I can assure you that there is a story behind that. First of all, I think that you're the one that sounds like an annoying know-it-all that hacked all superiors and shit. That sounds like you. Also, let me just check real quick. Nah. I can't see any mention about people's skills in those definitions, Gary. Nowhere. Huh! Musician. They say here that it's a common noun. And you know what, Gary? We invented adjectives for a reason. That means, Gary, that you can be a good musician, or a skilled musician, or even a bad musician, or even worse, Gary. Sometimes people are talentless musicians, but still musicians. You can be a creative musician, boring musician, Or a dumb musicians. Like you. I mean, you took the time to write an entire article asking the question, should singers be classed as musicians? When a little bit of common sense, a functioning brain, and even just a basic Google search would have gave you the answer straight away. I'm not even mad anymore, Gary. I'm just disappointed. I'm just gonna go back to what Andy said earlier. Andy's a great technology educator, astronomy writer, and lecturer. Boy bands are not musicians. But what about...
Happy farewell to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised. The place where he was born and raised.
But
One more time.
even this...
Johnny Lever, a Yankee John, the pocket rat, and it's time for us to leave her.
Wait, look, now there's a guitar now, that's music, right? There's a guitar! And look, that dude is playing a banjo, that's music, right? There's even a guy that's like strumming the ground with the sticks, that's music! Okay then, Bob. Ah yeah, I decided that your name now is Bob, and not Andy, because apparently we can decide for others what they are without giving any fuck about the reality. So... Also now you're a janitor at Walmart, I decided.
Enjoy! I believe that if singers don't write their own songs, they should be considered performers rather than musicians or artists.
I was going to say that this is probably the dumbest shit I've read today about this debates. Everything was so dumb anyway, so I'm gonna stop the video right now because it's getting a bit too long for this kind of dumb shit and I need some rest and you need some rest too. I will be talking about that in part 2 that will come later this week on my channel, so stay tuned, and if you made it that far, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, reblog, retweet, and whatever you want. So yeah, thank you for watching me having a mental breakdown over some dumb shit on the internet, and see you in the next video. Bye!